my channel. Last time on the channel, we discussed how I got my first full-time professional job in Norway and all about the job seeker visa process. If you haven't checked those videos out yet, I would highly recommend it to learn all about the work immigration process here in Norway. But for now, we will be doing a deep dive into the final part of this Norwegian work immigration series all about skilled workers visas. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, first things first, after you have gone through months and months of applying to jobs, going through interviews, and doing other hiring process related things, you will receive an offer letter from a Norwegian company. Now, this offer letter is very important in the skilled workers visa application process. This offer letter should include things that detail the description of the role you have been offered, the percentage at which the role is, either part-time or full-time, and the starting salary. This is all very important later in the application process. Now, if you are currently living in Norway already on potentially the 12-month job seeker permit as discussed in the previous video, or any other kind of legal residence permit in Norway, you can accept this offer and start working right away. However, if you're either not living in Norway yet, or if you're living in Norway but on a visa that doesn't allow you to work, you must first apply for a skilled workers visa before you can accept the offer and start working. Now, first things first, you're going to want to go to the immigration website udi.no. Once you're on that page, you're going to want to click Want to Apply. Then you are going to type the country you are from, select Work Immigration, and go to Skilled Workers. Once you are on the screen, you must select the type of work you have been offered in Norway. The categories include skilled worker with an employer in Norway, employees of international companies who are on assignment for the Norwegian branch of their company, employees of companies abroad who are on assignment in Norway, offshore workers, athletes or coaches, teachers or religious leaders, self-employed persons with a company in Norway, or self-employed persons with a company abroad. For the purposes of this video, we will be covering the category skilled worker with an employer in Norway, which is the visa category that I personally applied for. Now, in order to qualify under this category, you must meet one of three criteria. Either you have some higher education related to the job you've been offered. This can be either a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. You can have some kind of higher vocational training spanning at least 3 years that qualifies you for the particular job, or you can document your work experience that's related to this job. Most jobs require around 3 to 5 years of work experiences to qualify for their positions, so you will need to document 3 to 5 years of work experience from a related job to qualify. For example, in my personal case, when I was offered a job at a bank, I was able to use both my educational qualifications and work experience qualifications in the visa application process. In the job description, it said that someone could have either higher education, which I did, so I submitted copies of my diplomas and transcripts from my bachelor's and master's degree to the immigration, and it also stated that someone with previous work experience from a bank could also apply. So I also submitted proof of my previous role at an American bank, where I worked for about a year and a half. This included things like the official offer letter for my old job at the bank and a description of that role. Another thing to keep in mind when applying for a skilled workers visa is that the job offer must come from a Norwegian employer. The job must also be full-time or at least 80% and have a minimum pay related to your education type. The minimum pay for a bachelor's degree is around 417,000 kroner or $42,000 a year, and the minimum pay for a master's degree is 449,000 kroner a year or around $45,000. If your job offer meets these requirements and you meet the requirements to apply and you then receive a skilled workers visa, the amount of time that visa is valid for will depend on your personal qualifications. If you apply for the skilled workers visa based on vocational training of around 3 years, for example, if you were a nurse who completed vocational training and got a job offer to work as a nurse in Norway, then the skilled workers visa would only be good for 1 year. It would need to be renewed every year. If you apply for the skilled workers visa based on your education or based on your previous work experience, that visa will then be valid for 3 years. A bonus of this is once you've lived in Norway for 3 consecutive years, you can apply for permanent residence and pretty much be done with UDI. Another important thing to make note of is if you change employers while you're here on a skilled workers visa. So for example, if I was a nurse working in Norway and I went and decided to work for a different hospital also located in Norway but was still being a nurse, you do not have to reapply for the skilled worker visa. However, you do have to inform the police that you have changed jobs within 1 week of that happening. However, if you are changing the job position, you do have to reapply for the skilled workers visa, even if you're changing job position but still working for the same company. So, for example, if I was a nurse working at a Norwegian hospital and was promoted to being a doctor, I would have to reapply for the skilled workers visa and send in the information that I was now a doctor. If you lose your job for whatever reason, you do need to inform the police within a week of this happening. You don't necessarily need to reapply for a skilled workers visa right away. You're still allowed to legally stay in Norway unemployed for 6 months while trying to find a new job. If you find a new job that is the same position as your previous one, then you don't have to reapply for the skilled workers visa, same rules as the other one. However, if you do find a job in Norway that is a different role than your previous one, you do have to reapply for the skilled workers visa. Now, with all of those qualifications and benefits of the skilled workers visa covered, we can now get into the actual application process itself. First, you will click on the category that applies to you. Then you will click on How to Apply on the UDI website. Choose whether you will be applying on behalf of yourself or if your employer will do so. Some employers conduct the work immigration process themselves and even cover some of the costs for UDI application fees. If you are applying for yourself, fill out the questions as they apply to you. Once you have finished answering the questions, click on Go to Application Form. You will be prompted to create a login for the immigration website and then be taken to the application form. You will have to fill out the form answering questions about your education, work experience, identity, etc. Once you have completed the application form, you will then have to pay an application fee before the application is submitted to immigration. This fee is 6,300 kroner, or around $630. Once you have paid the fee and fill out the application form, it is now submitted and you can book your appointment with the police or the Service Center for Foreign Workers. If you are applying from abroad, this appointment will be done at the closest visa application center in your home country. Appointments usually book up fast, so it's really important to book the appointment as soon as possible, preferably right after you're done with the application. Once you have booked your appointment and submitted your application, it is now time to go to the checklist of documents you need to provide to apply for the skilled workers visa. This list of documents includes your passport and copies of all the used pages in the passport, a printed out copy of the application form that is signed, a passport-sized photo of yourself if you're applying from abroad, documentation that shows you have somewhere to live in Norway, UDI's offer of employment form. This form should be downloaded from UDI's website and should be given to your employer to fill out and sign. You also need to provide documentation that shows that the offer you have been given meets the minimum financial requirements. This should be 417,000 kroner if the job requires a bachelor's degree, aka around $42,000, or if the job requires a master's degree, this should be 449,000 kroner a year, or about $45,000 a year. And these financial requirements can be documented by submitting your job offer letter to UDI. You should also submit documentation of your education, either via diplomas and transcripts, and document your work experience if it is relevant to the job you have been given. This can be shown from previous employment offer letters and descriptions of your previous roles. A copy of your CV should be given, and finally, a printed out copy of UDI's checklist filled out and signed. Once you have collected all of these documents, submitted your application, paid the fee, and booked your appointment, all you have to do is attend your appointment. Once at the office of either the police, Service Center for Foreign Workers, or the local visa application center in your home country, you will submit the documents. They will take your photo for your future visa. They will also take your fingerprints and a copy of your signature, and then tell you the prospective waiting times. The current waiting times for work visas are between 4 to 6 months. So you really need to make sure that you can coordinate that waiting time with the job that has offered you the position. But in a nutshell, that is essentially the process of how you apply for and get a skilled workers visa here in Norway. I recently went through this entire process myself when I was given a job offer to work at Santander Consumer Bank here in Norway. Now, lucky for me, I was already living here in Norway on a job seeker visa, so I was able to start working right away. If you're curious about how that process works, be sure to check out that video and hopefully you can learn some fun tips there. And if you're curious to find out about how I even found a job in Norway, you should also check out that video as well. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye guys!